Let's talk about the tuck jump to tuck handstand and the most common issue I see my students struggle with when they're first learning this entry. Now, quick heads up before we get started. The technique for this is a little bit different than the technique for the tuck jump to straight handstand or the tuck jump to scorpion handstand. For the tuck jump to tuck handstand, you need to be able to balance a tuck handstand coming from the wall, and you need a certain degree of shoulder mobility. Whereas for the tuck jump to straight handstand and the tuck jump to scorpion handstand, you don't need to be able to hold a tuck handstand to do those. I still highly recommend learning this technique to get into those shapes if you still haven't learned tuck handstand or you still don't have the shoulder mobility. Because for those entries, you can do them without needing to have the same shoulder mobility as you do for holding and balancing a tuck handstand. So for this video today, you do need to be able to hold and balance a tuck handstand coming from the wall. If you want me to cover the other entries, please comment below and I'll happily make a video on those. Now, let's talk about the most common issue I see my students having when learning the tuck jump to tuck handstand. You see, for the tuck handstand, because both of your legs are on one side, your hip has to be in a slightly more forward position than in a straight or in a staggered leg handstand. I call this position neutral +1 as opposed to neutral, which is the same in a stagger or a straight handstand, or neutral -1, which is when both legs are on the same side in the other way and you're holding a scorpion handstand. Now, this is important because if you're working on tuck handstand coming from the wall, you've already practiced how it feels like to be in that neutral +1 position, but it's a little bit scary to get into that position with the velocity and momentum of the entry in the middle of the room. So what people tend to do is they do the tuck jump, and because they feel like it's a little bit nervous, it's a little bit scary, they open up the legs as a reflex, and now you have the hip in neutral +1, which is supposed to be balancing both knees on the other side, but the knees have come up and they're no longer on that side, so the hip is on one side not balancing the two knees on the other side, so you tip over and you overbalance. And the exercise I like to give my students to do is to learn how to jump over and overbalance and bail, but without ever opening the knees. And you can totally do that. Most people think they need to open the knees to execute a bail, but in reality, opening the knees actually is more dangerous, because whenever I see someone fall from a bail, and we had someone post about this recently in the skill-based fitness community, if you freeze the frame just before they fall, it's because they are twisting, which is good. And now when you twist, you need to fall on the underside of that new twisted position. But instead they twist and they open the legs, so now they're tempted to fall on the overside of that new twisted position. So my recommendation is, when you're thinking of tuck jump to tuck handstand, practice a few bails while keeping both knees down, and then have a little bit of courage once you've practiced that bail, so you're safe, to jump and get the hips into neutral +1 while the legs remain in neutral -1 to create that counterbalance. So you're jumping and you're reaching with the hips, at the same time counterbalancing with the knees, weighing you down. And here's how you kind of get the sense of a tuck jump to tuck handstand without making it feel like it's jittery, like it's kick and pray, jump and hope. No, it's controlled, it's smooth, and this way it will help if you ever wanted to progress to a tuck press, to tuck handstand, or any other shape.